Welcome to the circus.
Press record. I'm gonna fucking throw in some nicotine gum and I'll be spicy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta get that nicotine.
Yeah.
Does that nicotine gum make you nauseous at all?
Yes and no. You know, when I chew like 100 milligrams a day, yeah, I start to get a little bit sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
You know, my little stomach. But right now I'm weaning myself off of nicotine just in general. So I've been feeling pretty good the last couple of days.
Yeah. I tried that nicotine gum just once and I got sicker than shit, and I haven't done it again because I chew, and I was trying to do it, quit chewing, and that put an end to that really quick.
No, it's I think it's rough when you get a little older. Like when I quit like the day, or not the day, but the day I left Alaska. I was stationed at Fort Wainwright, and I drove down from there to Idaho. It was like a 5-day drive. I cold turkey the day before I left, and somehow that's weird to cold turkey chew like Copenhagen and go drive for 5 days without chewing again. Because that's just like a great time to chew. Like you're fucking driving, you know. And I started
driving. That's like the time that you want to dip the most.
Yeah,
you know,
and I just did it. I mean, I was a little aggressive though. I mean, I was like in my fucking Tundra, just like going like 80 down through Canada, like fucking just cutting people off, getting, you know, I was just trying to get home. So I mean, it wasn't a good thing, but
yeah, bad time to try and quit.
Yeah.
I've tried to quit a few times.
Are we live? Are we doing this?
Yeah, we're rolling, man.
We're rolling.
Let's do it live.
All right. So what's mission prep? Tell me what that's all about.
So we went through about a million different names when we decided to start this, and I mean you've been there, I'm sure, starting companies and stuff. And we were trying to find a name that kind of meant something, but didn't sound like douchey as well. And Kevin, with his military background, that has a little bit to do with it, you know. Mission prep's a big part of the military, from what I've been told. And then, but also just like, even if you're not in the military, everybody has a mission, whether it's raising your family or doing your daily job, whatever it is. Everybody's got a mission, and being prepared for that is a big thing. And I'm big on preparedness. So is Kevin.
And that's kind of a big thing too. Like, I say it probably in half the podcast, because we talk to people from wide ranges of backgrounds. You know, we've had on like other Green Berets and stuff, and why we differ is because that is like our goal. Like, everybody writes their own op order a different way, and some people can't write them on their own. They need someone to give them direction. And you know, so like when we had Sean, who's coming out with his book, we didn't really talk about his book or the FNG Academy on YouTube. We just got to know Sean. Like, what are your fundamentals? You know, what's your character like? We got to know him really well. Just bullshitting about that, because everybody else is already talking about what he's doing. Well, you know what I mean?
This guy, I don't know if you know who he is, but he went on every podcast that he could get on because he was promoting a book. And I listened to a few of them leading into him coming on ours. And they all wanted to talk about his military background, what he did when he was in the military, and they were all the same. So we tried to take it a different route with him, and we barely talked about that. But it was a really good conversation. So that's what we're trying to do with this, because in the beginning when we started this, we still don't know what we're doing. Neither of us have a background in audio, video, none of that. So we're just kind of learning as we go. And in the beginning, it was coming off like super interviewy, and that's not what we wanted to do. So it's kind of, as it's progressed, and this is what, the 25th episode. Mm-hmm. We started this in September. It's kind of been a natural progression of more of like just a normal conversation, because you could still get a lot out of a person from a normal conversation, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. What do you guys do on your outside of podcasts? What do you guys do professionally?
So I'm a truck driver. I contract with the post office and haul mail all over the place for the post office, and then raise my family and all that good stuff. And Then
Right.
Kevin, tell them what you're about.
Yeah, when I got out of the military, I opened a CrossFit gym. Did that for quite a few years. Went pretty far with that, and considering of continuing education and everything else. But that wasn't my goal. My goal was always go to school, and I just got caught up in it. And so I eventually signed it off to the other owners, and then started the physics program at BSU. It's a 5-year program. I'm knocking it out in about 3 years. I'll be done this fall. And then, yeah, dude, I that's what I'm about. I was going to get my PhD, but I really don't. I with 2 kids and stuff, I don't want to really leave at this time. And there's no PhD program in astrophysics in Idaho. So I'm just going to stick around and fucking figure it out from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Where's the nearest PhD in astrophysics? UW?
Maybe I know for sure Arizona State,
Right.
Texas, Johns Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where they send people around BSU, because that's where like a lot of professors people are from. Is Arizona, Johns Hopkins, those kind of areas. Yeah, I could always switch like geophysics and do that here. It's still competitive, but at least I'd stay here, But
Right.
but astrophysics is kind of my baby, though. So it'll just be a hobby, Yeah, but
I tell people that all the time. If I was smarter, that's what I'd like to do. But unfortunately, I can only work this machine at like 110% capacity, and it's not gonna fucking do it's not gonna do what I would need it to do over there in physics land.
Same.
yeah, no,
I'm doing the best I can with what I got, man. Like I'm pushing it. I'm redlining RPMs on this fucking machine every day, and I'm like, I don't know. This is all I got. This is it.
Yeah.
yeah. But it's nice to. I'm sure it's nice to just be around. I would say like-minded people. People that are ass kickers that want to progress in their life every day. You're around people that are always moving forward versus being stagnant. I don't know, because I don't really experience that necessarily in school, and I kind of miss that environment. And I'm sure like Black Rifle is kind of nice because you're around other guys like that, I'd imagine.
You've kind of created that there.
Right.
It seems from the outside looking in, you've created that space. That's pretty cool.
I'm selfish in that regard, which was I just actually got back from Idaho. I was up in McCall last weekend, just outside McCall. I took how many people? Balls? 14 snow machining? 15? Yeah.
Bodies.
15
Nice.
people snow machining up there. We went up to Bergdorf Hot Springs for the weekend, and so that kind of feeds back into your question, which is it's an ecosystem, right? So I've been able to build a company that has a bunch of collective psychology that ultimately feeds into what I feel is a fairly positive work environment. But I'm the master of the destiny, so I can define what looks like success ultimately, and that is nice, right? It's not PhD in physics, but I get to hang out with pretty incredible people and make stupid videos on the internet and roast coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 460 people now, so I couldn't ask for a better life, because I get to play with my kids in the morning and flip pancakes and head into the office and high five and butt slap and make stupid jokes and roast coffee. It's not bad, it's not bad living, right? It's not bad living.
No.
Don't have to comb my hair, I mean, there's no boss.
Yeah.
Nobody telling me that I can't. There's nobody to tell me what I can or can't do, other than maybe like the Securities and Exchange Commission or something.
Right.
Yeah.
DEA, ATF, like those are the only things that are like truly telling me like what I can or can't do. So.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing from the outside looking in at what you guys have done with Black Rifle. We both followed you guys from the beginning.
Yeah.
And,
Seriously.
I mean, I've been like since back in the Drinking Bros podcast days listening to you guys.
We visited in 2016?
17.
17?
Yeah, we took a drive out there in 17, and one of your guys that worked there gave us a tour of your facility. His name Matt? He was a double
yeah.
amputee.
Oh yeah, Matt.
Yeah. So he gave us a tour of the facility, and it was cool. It was really cool. I mean, we kind of felt like, because we've been big fans, and your coffee is delicious, and it was cool to drive out there. We bought some merch and all that, but it was really cool to get that tour of what you guys have done there. And then since then, what I've seen just online, I mean, you guys are expanding brick and mortar, stuff like that. It's really cool what you're doing.
Yeah, it's nice that I can go to Cabela's and get some now. It's just kind of convenient.
Yeah.
But no,
It's super convenient.
Yeah. No, we
It's convenient for me too. Like if I'm somewhere and I want to like stop in and grab some coffee, I just have to go to find a Cabela's or a Bass Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
there was a knife shop, right, that was selling Black Rifle here over there off Fairview.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty sure there was some knife shop selling your coffee.
Yeah, and you're talking about.
For a long time, to include today, I mean, we had over 3,000 partnered retailers across the United States, and they were, a lot of them were gun stores. So people would email us and say, "Hey, can we sell your coffee?" And back, well, even today, I mean, I just basically say, yeah, sign up to sell a minimum of it annually, and sure, sell it. Do whatever you want with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've done less and less of that because a lot of the smaller retailers, they don't quite understand how to display the product, so they'll put price tags on the front of it, and the bags will be all crunkled up, and maybe it'll be there for like 2 or 3 months, and you're like, dude, that looks like shit.
Yeah.
Like I spent a lot of time and fucking money and effort trying to roast a great coffee, and for it to sit on a shelf and collect dust and have a price tag on the front of it, like,
I couldn't agree more. There's that. I have the same thought process about everything that I put effort into, and I see people shit on it because they lack. I mean, I don't want to be sound like a toxic asshole here or salty, but they just don't give a fuck and they have no respect, and so they don't take pride in anything they're doing. But you do, because you're involved in it, and then somebody else is just like, I don't know, they'll sell it. They're not really invested. They don't really, that's what's cool about the franchise thing. I heard that you guys were going to start up because that person is invested, and they're going to have to be an ass kicker because they're investing a lot of money, and they're going to have to want to see it grow. And so they're going to have that similar mindset. Like, I want this to be a certain way, in a way that works and it's functional, maybe at the expense of being a little bit neurotic, but sometimes that can be beneficial, I think, Yeah.
Well, there's, you have to have buy-in, right? So with a franchise, for instance, you got skin in the game, and there's no better way to learn business than to do business. So a lot of guys that I know, the veterans that I know, they need to just jump in and start working it and get OJT. And I'm opening up a shop up in Kalispell, Montana, with my buddy Andy Stump. He's got one that he's going to be opening. We've got a few down south in Texas and around the United States with other guys that I know. And I talk about it all the time. I'm like, I was carrying a gun for a living 6 years ago. That was my profession. That's what I did for my entire adult life. I didn't know jack or shit about running a business, and but I did know, I did know enough about leadership and management that I could organize and execute against timelines and understand priorities of work. Your business isn't rocket surgery. There's a bunch of fucking guys that went to, Wharton School of Business and a bunch of these other schools that, they throw out acronyms and you don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But at the end of the day, a military, E5 knows more acronyms than anybody that's ever been to Wharton. So it's not astrophysics. I tell this to people all the time. If you understand priorities at work and leadership and management, you can execute against timelines and be a successful businessman. There are so many guys out there that they have an idea, or they just want to emancipate themselves, right? They don't like their job that they're in. They're working maybe a dead end job, 9 to 5. I was that guy. Like, that was my life. I was in a job that I fucking hated. No, granted, it was a cool job from the outside. People would say, well, you work for the CIA. That's super cool. And I'd say, it sounds cool. It sounds cool. It's a cool acronym, but it's in all actuality, I was miserable, man. Like, I was fucking miserable. I was working 20-hour days, 20 plus days, a month. I was traveling all the fucking time. I had no time to myself. I was either deployed and overseas, or I was on the range throwing around a carbine with a pro timer teaching guys. And I was burnt out. I was angry, and I didn't like being managed by a bunch of people that I felt might be incompetent.
Yeah.
So whether I was right or wrong, it's irrelevant. I just didn't like being managed within that institution, right? And so with a bunch of guys that I know, they know how to work hard. They understand how to address work priorities and then execute against them. And they would succeed. They just need like a little bit of a push. I got fired, so that was the push I needed.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all you need, huh?
Yeah, it's perspective. Because without that perspective and that so-called negative, you don't have that drive and those intuitive, creative thoughts about how to run your business and get it going. Because I found that out too. Like, going between the gym and starting school, I worked for a friend as an arborist, a fucking commercial arborist, climbing, cutting down trees and shit. And that was one of the coolest jobs you can do. It's the closest thing I felt to being in the military, because you're around cool ass fucking guys all day. You're running heavy equipment. You're doing crazy shit. But that was the perspective I needed before going into school, was to remind myself I'm never too good for manual labor. In fact, it's in our DNA. We always need to be fucking ass kickers. We need to have that yin and yang. And I can't just be a bookworm. We got to do both. You have to be a jack of all trades. You can't just be one thing. You can't just have one ego. If you just stuck to your ego, I wouldn't even started school. I'd be like, oh, there's a bunch of fucking kids there. I'm in my 30s. I'm not doing that. You just got to let it go. You got to be vulnerable. And you got to be real willing to, kind of like you went to starting over and going into that business. And obviously it paid off. You know what I mean? Like,
it paid off in a big way. And it not monetarily, that's not the biggest way that it paid off. It paid off because I get to live the way that I want to live. I get to live out the story of Evan Hafer the way that I want to write the book. Nobody else is, I have a ton of people that are helping me with the company, and I have a wonderful family, but I write my own story, man. Like,
yeah.
A lot of guys are like, they're letting somebody else write their story. And, this is a finite existence, and I'm not trying to be morbid. I'm just saying, like, I believe this is a finite existence. We get one spin on this fucking rock, and you better make it a good one, because if you don't, the last couple of years of your life, you're going to be in a situation where you're psychologically regretful, which will ultimately speed up your departure.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's next, if there is anything next. I don't know if this is just one big, artificial reality. I don't fucking know. I just know that I get one rotation, and I spent a lot of time in a profession that I was ultimately not fulfilling what I felt was like my dream. My dream. and I spent my 20s in combat zones.
Yeah.
You know, and don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fun doing a lot of different things in a lot of crazy, really fucking dangerous places. Um, but you know what? I'm glad I have those experiences, but I would have really liked to have run the middle fork of the salmon another 30 times too. You know what I mean? Like there's something about like the guys that are out there doing their thing, and whether I identify with your point earlier, which is I identify with manual labor. I think a person needs to work hard. I think they have to push their body psychologically and physically. I think there has to be a balance to both, utilization of your mind and your body. I like putting my body through physically hard challenges that are psychologically difficult. Fear-based activities are typically some of the more interesting things that you can do. But going back to the business perspective, business is as difficult as you want to make it. it's as difficult as you want to make it. Like, I know a ton of guys that they make it a lot harder than it needs to be.
Dude,
they make it a lot harder than it needs to be.
I think like it's kind of like what you touched on earlier about people like business degree or MBAs. In fact, I'll expand on that. Any fucking degree. I'm gonna make an analogy again because I'm an asshole. I think any degree you're going to, I don't care if it's fucking astrophysics, whatever. It's like going through like sniper school, ranger school. But say you're in sniper school, right? And all you fucking learn is here's what this weapon's made out of. Here's how the barrel's fucking lathed. Here's the type of trigger mechanism it has. You learn everything about the rifle. You're like, cool, I'm fucking awesome at this. And then you graduate. You don't fucking shoot it. You don't go stock. You don't do any of that shit. That is college. That is an MBA right there. Yeah, I know everything about this fucking gun. Cool. Show me how to utilize this motherfucker. They don't know any of that. And most even professors agree that I talk to. They're not supposed to because you can't say anything about the college. But because the best businessmen I've met, like the tree guys and everything like that, these are not college level guys. But they went out and are ass kickers like you, and they're doing good things for themselves, for the people around them, the guys that work for you. And you don't need a shitty fucking MBA just to wave your ego and your dick around, And so I think they're a step behind because they're doing that before learning the experience. It's the other way around.
Well, I think too, when you get those people who come from manual labor and they know how to grind, they will succeed by any means necessary.
Yeah.
I've always had manual labor jobs. That's all I've ever done. And my current job I work at now, it's probably the easiest when it comes to physical of any job I've ever had. And it's funny because I came from way harder manual labor jobs. And we get guys that come on to work for me. I hear them bitching, and I'm like, "Have you ever had another job ever? Because we got it pretty fucking good." And they're weak-minded, and I hate that. And with guys our age and younger, that's becoming more and more common. I mean, I've been the youngest guy at my company for 6 years, and there's nobody younger than me coming around. People aren't doing that line of work anymore,
no.
And I hate to see that happening. I mean, I know the truck driving school I went through, they shut it down. They had lack of enrollment. So after I went through, I think there was like 2 more cycles and it was gone. And that's sad because
and that's why I got my CDL work just in fucking case.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have. But no, like when it comes to like the business thing and doing what you want to do, that's another reason we wanted to start this. Like much smaller scale, but hoping this could turn into something where we could kind of forge our own path. And with lack of resources and lack of finances, we're doing the best we can with it. But it's been like a natural progression of growth with this podcast, which has been really awesome. And we're just putting in the work. I mean, that's all we know how to do. Like I said, we don't know how to do video, audio, but we're learning to try and make this thing work. We're trying to make the video a little better every time and the audio a little better every time. And it's I mean, you've been involved in this world of audio and video for a while now. I'm sure especially not having a background in it. a pain in the ass, but it's also fun. I like to learn new things, and this was all brand new to me. So it's fun to learn new shit, and just, I like to work. I like having the hard shit to do. So it's, and like, yeah, I have my day job, which I don't want to do that the rest of my life. I already know that. And I'm hoping taking on something like this and trying to run it like a business, which I've never ran a business. So it's, once again, don't know what I'm doing, but trying to learn as I go. Hopefully we can have some success in this, in something like this, to where, you know, you can do our own thing. And I think you guys with Black Rifle, you've been an inspiration to a lot of people with what you guys have done with that company. And yeah, I think it's important to find something you like to do and try and do it, and no matter how hard it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. I mean, part of this whole thing is, we talk about a lot, which is, we talk a lot about how if we can show people that a bunch of idiots can do this, like imagine how many people are going to go out and try it, right? And to your point, there's a couple things in there that I can pull out and identify, which is, you know, I went to college, the University of Idaho first, and I went to Fort Bragg right after that. And I thought I was a big, you know, smart guy. I went to college, and I got into class with a bunch of guys that had never been to college, and they're smarter than me. Yeah, that's just the way it goes. They had higher IQs. They could work hard, and they had higher IQs. Doesn't fucking mean anything. Piece of paper doesn't fucking mean anything. It means that you have a prerequisite amount of training to get an interview for a job. And as a guy that's hired hundreds of people, I don't even look to see what the education background is of a lot of people. I want to know what their work experience is. I want to know, what they've done, and more importantly, what can they do for the company? Not, oh, you have a degree in philosophy. How is that going to fucking help me? You know? Am I going to ask you what that empty box means? Like, you know? So, you know, to your point in the sniper school analogy is most of the advanced precision long-range shooters that are kind of setting the standard aren't military guys.
No.
Go to sniper school. You know, Todd Hotnet didn't go to sniper school. You know, the guys that are pushing the envelope on ballistics are civilians, and it's nothing against Army Sniper School or sniper schools just in general. I think they're a fantastic course for guys to go through, but passion will ultimately proceed any person's piece of paper.
Yep.
You know, you can get the same information as a physicist. Essentially, if you spend enough time on YouTube, you could probably get the majority of the information that you needed to be a roughly the same type of equivalent. If you know, I know that like Harvard, for instance, you can take a lot of their courses online.
MIT
as well. A lot of MIT online. You can do a ton of this stuff online. You might not have a piece of paper for it, but if you really just want the information, you want to like feed your brain that information, you can find it. Whether or not it will get you a job, you know, it's not going to get you a job, but I guess my point in that is, you know, we've been very good at trying to figure out what to do, and we don't have a preconceived notion, so we can break a paradigm and just kind of figure it out. Two, we have a team room. So I used to always have this thought. I was like, you know what? If they trust me to go try to figure out how to solve the, you know, the Syrian foreign fighter insurgency problems in Anbar province, I can run a fucking business. Like, there's nothing more complex because you're not risking life, limb, or eyesight.
Yeah.
You've got to negotiate with a bunch of you know, random personalities and figure out who the power players and influencers are You have to negotiate to figure out how do you apply power to different circumstances without even imploding your goodwill. And then sometimes there's, violence is necessary, and sometimes non-violence is necessary. It's a most complex of the problems to solve. And when you're solving problems in combat zones, I don't care what you do. You're solving complex problems, and you're risking life, limb, or eyesight if you get them wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
So if I can do that, that's the way I look at it. It's like, fuck, if I can do that, I should be able to run a business. I mean, damn.
Yeah.
It can't be that hard.
Yeah.
It can't be that hard.
Well, I think that's
get blown up roasting coffee unless I'm a real idiot.
Yeah.
Well, that's an important thing, and that's something we've touched on here a lot of times, is finding struggle. If you find struggle, it's going to make other shit seem like it's not that big of a deal. And I like, whether it's just lifting weights, working out, doing jujitsu, whatever you're into, if you're putting yourself in struggle, the rest of your day is not going to seem so bad. And I'm sure going to war is a much more of a struggle than going to a jiu-jitsu class, but struggle is struggle. And I think it makes a person a better person and a stronger person, and be able to withstand the little things that don't really mean that much.
And you find yourself. That was the main driver for me, like, joining. I was like, who am I in these scenarios? Right? Like, I'm such a curious person, and especially introspectively, like, who the fuck am I in this scenario or in this scenario? And it was interesting to find out, because before ever getting in my first tick, I was like, I'm going to be that guy who fucking cowers and starts crying and shit. This is going to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm going to shit myself.
Yeah.
And then
everybody thinks that.
Yeah. And like
Deep down internally, they're all like, yeah, I'm going to be pretty badass. But internally, you're like, oh, dude, I might bitch out. I don't know. I might totally bitch out. I don't know.
Yeah. And I ended up finding out that I was a dumbass, because I was the guy who was like I was saying, like, who was it? Yabar or somebody was like, somebody says like Mel Gibson and We Were Soldiers, because we were like getting shot at, and I'm like running back and forth, like trying to move people around, like picking up a fucking machine gunner and moving his ass because you won't move, like. And then there was guys who, it took one firefight, and then they were like, I'm fucking done. This is it. And then you send them to CAF or something, Yeah. And so you find yourself, and some people find themselves for the worst, I think. And it's hard to live with that, because that person who's like one and done, it's like, okay, you're going to live the rest of your life, most likely going around to IHOP and getting your free breakfast on Veterans Day, calling yourself a veteran, but at the end of the day, you really couldn't do the job you're being paid to do or trained to do, which is okay. It's just, you still tried, right? But there's a group, how you're getting the same credit as a group full of guys who fucking found themselves and then thrived in those positions for a while, But yeah, it is interesting to find, again, to find that struggle and find yourself and do something with it.
That is, and honestly, that is one of the good things with the military, is you have somebody else there telling you what to do to push you past where you would normally have not done it yourself, right? So I wouldn't have gone out and done all the physical things required in special forces assessment and selection. I wouldn't have gone out and put myself through that individually. There's no fucking way I would have done that. But I had the opportunity to go, and somebody else was doing, putting me through these things. And so you do have the opportunity to do some self-discovery and some fairly introspective searching, and then combat allows you to kind of do another layer of that to really, and I talk about this a lot. I talk about it to my friends, to my peer group, because you guys are fairly young. A lot of your friends from high school think that you're the same guy, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the same guy that you knew when I was 17 and 18, when we were stealing golf carts at the country club and driving them in the ponds. Like, that's not me. And the biggest differentiating factor is not because I've jumped out of airplanes. It's because I've actually spent a lot of time with myself in very difficult scenarios, finding out exactly who this guy is. And I'm good with him. I'm pretty good with it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not a bad dude. I'm all right.
Yeah.
And so, when you know that, when you're like, I'm not bad. Like, you know what? I know I'm not going to bitch out in a gunfight. I'm going to work hard. I'm a good team player. I'm not going to fuck over my buddies. I love my kids, my family. Like, all those things are true, right? Those are truths that I know. I also know, I'm going to be able to work against a set of priorities to get shit done. I'm going to do it in an ethical way, and I'm not going to compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of guys, like, they're still trying to figure out if they're, are they, ego driven, or are they, money driven, or, should they or shouldn't they have done something, difficult or more manual, masculine in their life. One of my buddies was making fun of me actually in Lewiston one night, because I was telling him about baking scones. I was like, yeah, I was trying to bake scones the other day, and he's like, what, dude? You're like trying to bake scones? And I was like, he's like, that doesn't like, it doesn't compromise your masculinity or whatever. I was like, bro, I'm a Green Beret that invaded a country and worked for the CIA for a number of years. Like, I could be baking scones in a dress, sucking 2 dicks, and it wouldn't compromise my masculinity.
Fuck no, dude. No, that's just a good Friday night, man.
Well, I think it's just a fucking Friday. Yeah, it's just another Friday.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. It's important to you've been through so much different struggles that nowadays things are just, they don't seem as much of a big deal. And I don't necessarily think somebody has to join the military to find struggle.
No.
That's something like I never did. And like all my close friends joined the military right after high school. And I'm not one of those guys who says, I would have joined, but I would have punched my drill sergeant in the face or some shit. That wasn't for me. That wasn't what I wanted to go do. Instead I went and worked on a cattle ranch. That was what I did after high school, and did that for a few years and found plenty of fucking struggle there. But that's something, as a guy who never joined the military, drives me fucking nuts when I hear people say shit like that. I would have joined, but it's like, dude, you didn't join because it wasn't for you. Just fucking say that.
That was like the dude at the dealership the other day. I was looking at, I was getting I'm signed for my new Tacoma lease, whatever. And the dude was super nice. I mean, he was like, yeah, just moved from California, got a house. I'm like, that's cool, dude, whatever, And he's like, you're in the military? I was like, yeah. He was like, did you just fall? Doesn't even fucking blink. He goes, what's your kill count? Just the way he said it. What's your kill count? Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Who the fuck are you?
It drives me crazy because, like I said, all my friends went and joined the military. My dad's a veteran. I've been around veterans for a long time, my whole life, and I see guys who always, they feel like they have to put on like a front why they didn't join the military.
Yeah.
And me as a guy who did not join, I don't get that. I know they want to feel cool or whatever, but it's like, it just wasn't for you.
It all goes back to that breakdown. I broke it down a couple weeks ago. It's history, dude. You got to go back to post Civil War and World War I, before the Prohibition. Right, guys didn't talk about their shit because it was not fucking American to talk about your emotions or be vulnerable. And then everyone became such fucking raging alcoholics that the women complained. We had the Prohibition happen. Then you come out of that into World War II, and it kind of happens all over again. Shut the fuck up. Mm-hmm. Build your goddamn house. Take care of your lawn, or else you're a shitbag. And don't be a fucking faggot. Right? Essentially, that was it. And we essentially tried to thrive off of that. And now we're trying to wake up right now and realize, oh shit, this created an environment of kids who didn't earn that. The World War II generation got away with it because they fucking earned it, and they suffered for the rest of their lives because of it. But then you have guys raised by them who didn't earn it, who had things given to them, but they have that mentality. So then now that's why you see a guy who's a fucking accountant with a 12-inch lift on his Ford and a little dick, trying to stiff arm people. Because he thinks that's masculinity. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know the difference because he never fucking learned, right? Yeah. And anyway, it goes back, 120 years, dude. Like, if you follow that back, we have this causal effect of why our society went this way versus the society in Europe, or the weird Middle Eastern fucking, I still don't understand that to this day, but.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you guys have gotten it more than me, where you see guys who, I would have joined if, or, there's all these ifs, ands, or buts on why they didn't join. I don't know. It drives me crazy because, like,
And some guys still do it. When I joined in 2007, I was in basic with two 39-year-olds.
Yeah.
They had fucking gray hair.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I just...
Yeah. And it's countless times where people are like, oh, I wish I would have, or whatever. It's like, man, I don't judge people whether or not they've served or not. I don't care. It was just one thing I wanted to do.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
fairly selfish in the sense of I want to jump out of airplanes and, you know, hike around them because it was before war, right? So, you know, I thought it would be cool to jump out of airplanes and live in the mountains out of a rucksack. But that was pretty selfish. You know, I did want to serve my country, but at the end of the day, I kind of just wanted to jump out of airplanes and live out of my fucking rucksack and maybe try to overthrow a country if I got the chance, right? So, rad. But it wasn't like I was thinking about it in the context of my actions are plugging into the greater good of the overall American society. That wasn't why I was like, okay, I'm joining because I want to improve our nation. It was like, I want to jump out of airplanes. That Green Beret looks super fucking cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe I'll get one of those badass daggers and I'll, you know, it's just like fairly selfish. It takes years, I think, for one, your brain has to fully develop. And then two, you have to work through the reasons why you're serving and really, even if you're a strategic person, you think about the strategic nature of combat and why we were in whatever country we were in. It never really boiled down to, okay, I wanted to work towards the greater American strategic goals. It was, no, I'm working with a bunch of really great men and I'm not going to get this opportunity to do this ever again with these people. And so you kept doing it. And, you know, I spent 7.5 years of my life in combat zones, I guess, which when I say that, it's not, you know, me saying like, whoa, 7.5 years, I'm a fucking badass. It's saying, no, it was a lot of fucking fun. When I say most of the time, and it had nothing to do necessarily with the strategic interests of American, you know, foreign diplomatic efforts. It was, no, me and my friends are doing some pretty incredible shit, and the United States government is giving us a ton of resources to do it. Mm-hmm. So, hey, I'm also going to be doing some incredible good. There's a tertiary element to that. Mm-hmm. But I knew a ton of guys that didn't serve and it wasn't their thing. I never hold it against them because I wasn't like thinking about all the guys that didn't serve and then thinking about it in the context of, man, you should be doing the same shit I'm doing. It's like, no, why would I want that? One, it would have made it way more competitive, so I might not have been able to do what I wanted to do, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like you have a bunch of dudes that are badass trying to compete for my job, like, damn, man, I might not have been able to do it. So, you know, like, I'm glad that some doesn't show up.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, that's something like I've always surrounding myself with a bunch of veterans. How I have a big respect for guys who are veterans. I feel like I fit in because of like the dark humor and I love that shit. Mm-hmm. But I've never, the guys that say that they would have, but they did. It's like, no, you wouldn't have.
No. And it's just they need to grow up. And some guys don't grow up. They're 40 and they still haven't grown up, you know. Yeah. They need someone.
They're going to die being children.
Yes.
That's the problem. They're going to die being children. They're going to be children all their lives. They're never going to evolve psychologically past whatever obstacle that is that they have. Mm-hmm. That's why it's super important, I think, for guys to they just can't leave anything on the table. Yeah. They got to take it all. You got to try. I always felt like it would be better for me to try and fail because at least I would know. Yeah. Than not try and wonder. But I just kept getting selected, which was kind of surprising to me just in general. It's like, oh, I'm fucking selected again? Whoa, geez. All right. So that's one of the things, like I'm pretty dumb in some circumstances because I just keep doing things. And because I don't want to question whether or not I should have, and I keep finding out that I'm like halfway decent at them, and or I'm just a little bit better. I don't know, but I just keep doing them, and I'm like, I keep doing it, and I'm like, well, maybe I'm not as dumb as I think I am, or maybe everybody else is just dumb. Maybe it's like they're all trying to like put on, their own kind of, intellectual facade. I don't fucking know. It's like, I'll be in meetings with people now. I'm like, I just call it as it is. I'm like, okay, guys, I'm kind of fucking dumb. You're going to have to break out the crayons for me and explain this because I don't get it. And then a couple other guys will come up and be like, dude, I'm so glad you said that. I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about either. I'm like, oh my God, like, great. We can all kind of like just agree that we're all kind of fucking dumb and we're going to make a bunch of mistakes. But I think that's a big prohibiting factor psychologically, is a lot of guys, they just won't try. They won't even get out of their own way. And I think fear is probably, it's not physical or intellectual capability, it's fear. So I'm not the smartest or the most physically fit. I try to control my fear. I kind of try to put it in a box and weld that box shut, and then, only get it out and play with it when it's time to do that. When I got my quiet time, I'm like, oh my God, that was super scary. Oh shit.
Yeah. Well, that humility is super important, I think. Like admitting that, hey, I'm not the smartest guy, because then other guys will say, hey, it's okay for me to say that too. And that's something with this, like I think, because I've been setting up all the people who are coming on here, and I think with you was the first time I was talking to somebody then that was getting to you, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, I'm a little out of my league here. We're talking to, this, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know business. But in the emails with Colin, who I was talking to, I told him, I'm like, we're new at this, man. We're a couple idiots. Like, he asked me if we want to do this on Zoom or WebEx. I'm like, I don't even fucking know what WebEx is. So we're doing it on Zoom. Yeah. And it's, I try to show that humility because I think that's an important quality for people to have. Yeah. But in this world, and we're, like I said, we're trying to run this like a business, not knowing how to run a business, especially for me. I admit to people like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I need some help here. We want to eventually do some merch for this podcast. And there was a guy we had on previously who has a podcast and he has merch. And I reached out to him like, hey man, how do you do the merch thing? Because I don't fucking know how to do it. He kind of walked me through how he does things. And if I wasn't, if I wouldn't have said, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, I might not find out how to fucking do it. Because I don't. And I think it's an important quality to have is humility and admit when you need some fucking help. Yeah. I mean, if you don't do that, you're just going to have to obsess over something and spend a lot more time figuring it out. Yeah. Which is sometimes a good way of going around things too. A lot of YouTube. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on stuff on learning how to do it, but yeah. I will reach out to people that are better at it than me, because there's a reason they're good at what they do. They know what they're fucking doing, and I would do the same for somebody if I could help them, if I knew what I was doing, Yeah. But yeah,
and I do these like, you guys reached out or through whomever, and I'm like, I'm not unattainable. I was in my coffee shop today, drinking coffee and hanging out with customers. Like, people think I'm like, I don't know what they think. I don't know what they think, man. Like, I'm a busy guy. I like to work, but like, people DM me all the time, and I DM them back, and they're always like, I can't believe you DM me back. I'm like, what do you mean you can't believe that? Like, I'm just a fucking dude. Like, I've got an Instagram like everybody else, or
yeah. I think people just assume you're like this now that's like this wealthy guy in like your bear coat with like a nice like shotgun, just sitting in like this big throne of a chair in your house, like in the quiet.
Just like, if that was me, maybe someday. Like, hell yeah. I'm not going to take that out. I'm not going to take that off the table, dude. That sounds pretty fucking good.
That's still a possibility. No,
that's a fucking possibility. Like, you just gave me an idea for myself. That's badass. Yeah. I might do that. I just say fuck it.
I think in the age of social media now, guys like yourself who 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you're running a successful company, coffee company, you're a veteran. Most people wouldn't know who you were. They'd know your company. But with social media and podcasting and all that shit, you guys have kind of become celebrity. You have a celebrity to you. And then there's people out there who followed you guys forever. And I mean, we're experiencing that on a much smaller scale, but I'm having people reach out to us now because they've watched the podcast, and I'm like, this is weird because I don't know who the fuck you are. You're messaging me. I'm just an average dude, you know. And I think you guys have reached like this, kind of celebrity status with the social media followers, and you're going. I mean, you were on Rogan. That's a big thing. And people have heard your name, along with your guys' PR nightmares you've had to deal with. You've had to go out there and put your face out there.
Yeah.
And
those are fun, man. Like, Joe's a great guy. He's a fucking great guy. I consider him a friend. He's a great guy. He's just a guy like everybody else. Like, he's just a dude trying to figure this thing out. That's got the largest podcast in the world, but he's not let it get to his head. Like, if I text him, he texts me back like typically fucking 5 or 10 minutes. Like, what? Like, who the fuck am I? I'm just like roasting coffee, man. Like, everybody assumes, and there are definitely, I think, I don't consider myself a celebrity whatsoever. I just consider myself a guy that's running a company that's got, a fairly big Instagram page on, Black Rifle and a few other things. It kind of blows me away at times when I see kind of the numbers in the sense of how many views certain pieces of content have gotten or whatever. And you're like, fuck, I guess a lot of people watch that, or I guess a lot of people down. And I always put it in the context of my hometown. Lewiston's 23,000 people. And I always think about like, fuck, the population of my entire town just liked that Instagram post or whatever, and it's always kind of a little bit weird. But then I'm like, it's just my town, you know what I mean? It's like, I know everybody in Lewiston still. Like, I could walk down the middle of the street and be like, "What's up, Eric? What's going on, Dan?" Like, fuck yeah, everybody knows each other. 23,000 people. It's not that big of a deal. But I think when people get caught up into their idea of celebrity, well, people that want to be celebrities, I think that's the other issue too, right? They want to be celebrities. They want to be famous. These people are just fucking nauseating.
Yeah.
Just like, like, I don't want to be famous. I don't give two. I think what I was saying was the only time I felt like I was a celebrity, the only time, was I was at the park with my kids in Salt Lake, and I was fucking around doing something. I was talking to them, and somebody walked up to me and was like, "Hey, are you Evan Hafer?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they go, I recognized your voice from your podcast.
Oh, wow.
I didn't recognize you. I recognized your voice. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But I kind of did. I was like, "Oh, that man, random at the park, somebody recognized my voice." And most of the stuff that I do is like, the stuff that I really like doing is being a complete jackass. Right? So being serious is part of my profession. It's part of my personality. But what I prefer to do all the time is be a complete and utter jackass, like making the most ridiculous bullshit up possible is my favorite thing to do. So, if I were to ever, I guess, become any form of like ego, I think it would completely affect my ability to be a complete idiot.
Or a fun person.
I would get too much in my head going, "Oh my God, you're so cool," I'd be like, "No, I'm an idiot. I really like just fucking making people laugh. Like, I really do."
But that's an important quality too.
It's just part of being genuine, and we talk about that a lot too. Like, a lot of people aren't genuine, and a lot of people are turned off by my personality, because I might have a serious conversation and I might fucking rip ass during it. It's okay, or I might, we talked about, eating butthole and having someone squirt in your face. That's life though. And we got to be honest with people. If we're not being genuine, then we're just being fake, like a lot of people are being fake. Like, shit, my wife calls me gam during sex. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like gam. Like, you got to just be genuine. You got to let it out, because, sometimes maybe it's just part of that whole, like, processing, struggle again. But it bugs me how many people I turn off because of, and I hear this a lot from a lot of people or veterans in general, combat veterans, like, yeah, I rub people the wrong way. Like, yeah, go figure. Like, me too. Like, people aren't used to having someone authentic around them. They're used to someone being like, like, hey, Bill, how's it going today? All right, fucking grass looks good. Like just the same old bullshit conversations, the pumping your own ego up,
Yeah.
And it's like, I think we're all past that. Like, no.
Well, I think you think people are more bothered by it than they actually are. And we've had this conversation.
I don't know.
Because the feedback I've gotten on this podcast is people like that he says outlandish, wild shit sometimes, because he does. He always has. And there's nothing wrong with that.
What I've noticed is when I take my kids to the pool in our subdivision, I never make a single goddamn friend when I leave. I notice that they, like, the conversation dwindles down and they're, like, uncomfortable, and I'm like, all right, see you later.
Probably don't want to fucking be friends with them anyways.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But yeah, so actually I wanted to touch on something with you.
Yeah.
The reason I was like, I wanted to reach out to you, I was inspired to reach out to you, was I was listening to Free Range American, your guys' podcast, and I know you, like, Black Rifle does stuff for charity and all that, and there's some well-known stuff you guys have done, which is fucking awesome. But you had your, I forget his name, the guy, your blacksmith, Grizzly Forge.
Yeah, Lucas.
Yeah, so you had him on.
Yeah.
You had him on, and hearing what you did for that guy, when he broke his back and all that, the whole story, that inspired me to fucking reach out to you. I was like, dude, he's a good dude.
Yeah.
That's really fucking cool what you did there. And then offering him a job, and now I follow him on social media now after hearing him on there, and I see he moved to Salt Lake, and it seems from the outside looking at it seems like you treat the people that work for you very well, and that's a very rare thing, and it's cool to see the shit you do. And I'm sure you don't want to, like, boast and brag about how altruistic you are, but it's a really cool quality, and that's one thing inspired me to reach out, because we've been trying to get good people on here.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of fucking good people out there, and with as crazy as this world has been, especially the past year, I think it's important for people to see that there's people doing good things out there
for sure.
And that's.
I don't like people to think that they work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't. It sounds trite, and it sounds probably, different. I don't like them to think that they work for me. There's an old saying, if you have to tell people you're in charge, you probably aren't. And I don't want people to work for me that feel like they're in a subservient employee-employer relationship. This is a team sport, man. Like, it's a team sport, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at a baseball team or a football team or any team, a team activity on the field is, you're not working for the quarterback, you're working with the quarterback, right? You're not working for the coach, you're fucking working with the coach. The coach is trying to get everybody to their primary goal. So Lucas doesn't work for me, but he's definitely he's a good friend. He's a good guy. And, I could list all the employees here, and be able to say, yeah, I hope they don't feel like they work for me. I hope they feel like they come to work and work with me, and I'm a fucking nice. I don't care if they necessarily know me as a nice guy. That's not even the thing that I want to be known for here. I want them to know, like, that guy, gets shit done, and he's fun to work with. You know what I mean? Versus, Evan Hafer, he's my boss, and you're just like, I don't know. I've worked for a lot of people. Most of the time, I've always felt like good managers, good leaders make you feel like you're working with them, not for them. So I don't know. I don't know if that's like, it's probably not. I don't know if it's humility or not. I don't know if that's the right word. It's just the way I like to do business. It's just the way I like to run the shop and do the things that I like to do, because I'm building the company that I would like to work for.
Yeah.
And I don't want to feel like I'm working for a boss. I want to feel like I'm on a team.
Yeah.
I want to feel like I'm doing cool shit, and I can go talk to the guy that's in charge, but that's his job.
Yeah.
That's
like my
yeah.
best team leaders were guys like my best friends. Of course, I knew they were the team leader, but I knew they had a job. That was their job. They had to facilitate certain things, but I had my job, and it was just as important.
Yeah, no, and that's got to be satisfying to. I mean, it's just satisfying to hear that, you know, because it's a business owner who's not a narcissist, you know, like it's uncomfortable to be the person who's the head wolf, right? Like that makes me uncomfortable, and I didn't like it. As like a sniper team leader, I was like, that's not how we're doing things, you know. Right. I guess one of the hardest things I had to try to learn to do was delegate, because I don't fucking delegate. If I know how to do something better than somebody else, I'm just gonna go do it. If you know how to do it, come help me. If you're not going to help me, then get the fuck out of the way if you're not motivated. But it's hard for me to delegate. I'd rather just be around people who are also motivated, and we all have our own piece of the pie, and we can all help each other, you know?
But that's always been the best working scenarios for me. Like if we have a mission, we have a mission. Everybody's like, at times you might be in charge, and at times you might be, you know, rifleman X that's like pulling security on the fucking window and not doing jack or shit, right? And I think that's more of you know, obviously there's an organization chart, right? So you have your org chart, and you have definitive responsibilities and roles, but when it's game time, everybody's equal, and we're all kind of equally yoked. Everybody's working hard. And my job here is different than a lot of people, obviously, because I run the company and I do a lot of fucking weird things. But I also get to set the entire temperature for the ecosystem, right? So I get to go, you know, I'm the guy that's like figuring out what this whole shit show looks like, and that's super interesting to me. So I put in a gym out back where, you know, I put in a bunch of Sorinex equipment, and, you know, we've got fucking treadmills and saunas. I've got a bow tech that works here full time, and we've got a 3D archery range in back, because I want to build the place that I want to work, right? So if I'm that guy that comes into the company who's, you know, 22 or whatever it might be, and I know I can go out at lunch and I'm going to be shooting arrows with the CEO. And I might come in the morning before work, and, you know, I'm doing some, like, you know, shitty deadlifts, and, you know, that's the place I want to work, man. Like that for me, I'm like, I'm just building once again, it's pretty selfish. I'm just building the place that I'm like, I want to fucking work here. Yes. And if I had this really cool boss that like cruised around and is like in my track pants all day, you know, in Argyle socks, riding my fucking one wheel, I would think like, yeah, that guy's all right. Like I can talk to him, and we're gonna have a pretty good time.
Well, that's probably probably a big reason you guys have been as successful as you've been, because the happier your employees are, the better work they're gonna do, and over time, I mean, that shit, it matters. It matters big. Yeah. And I've worked for some shitty bosses, and I've had some really cool bosses. And when you have a cool boss, you actually look forward to going to work and doing the work. Versus you have some asshole who's trying to run the show and be a tyrant all day. You don't want to go to fucking work for that guy.
I think in a country as many as these little fuckers want to call us a fascist country, which we're not, I think we have the freedoms to, and hopefully we maintain those freedoms to do things like your business, where that's essentially what I would call the business of the future. Right? It's where I would want to work. It's the place I want to make available to people like me. And because I want it, like you're saying, like I would want it too. Like, yeah, instead of being in an office with these fucking white lights on all day and being bored and hating our lives and being alcoholics because of it, let's have a fucking gym and some bows or some whatever we want to do, and go fuck around our lunch break or before work or after work, you know? Like,
it's a good environment.
It makes it a lifestyle versus just showing up, you know?
Well, it is. Like, there's no less than like 5 to 10 dogs running around the offices all day long. You know, we have a gym and a bow range in back. We got a coffee shop up front. You know, we buy Jimmy John's. Like today, we bought Jimmy John's for everybody. I don't care if people are cutting out early. Like, I don't know if that's a business of the future. I think it's a business that we've continued to grow and we've continued to make money, which is good, right? So we must be doing something. We must be doing something right.
Yeah.
And for us, as a company, there's always improvements you can make on your company's psychology. And it's funny because, like, I'll read books, by guys that do research on company psychology. And just because I'm like, I'm interested in trying to understand company group psychology, but it's nothing I don't already know. So they're like, oh man, you got to build, there are guys out there that have to be told to go do the things that I naturally just want to go do, right? Like, I want to go put a gym in the fucking office so people can go lift heavy weights in the morning, in the afternoons, in the evenings, on the weekends, or whatever it might be. That's what I want to do. I want to do that because I want to see employees out there, like, getting it on. That's what I want to see. Like, I want to go get it on, and I want to see them getting it on.
Yeah.
But a lot of executives have to be told, like, oh, maybe you should think about bringing in a fucking gym so you have, a company, health objectives or whatever. Like, whereas, like, I just want to do that. Putting an archery range at your shop would probably be not suggested by any person with any form of insurance running a company at any point in time. But I went
those
to the
people
guys,
are fucking wrong.
I'm gonna shoot arrows behind the building, so find the insurance policy that matches that, because that's what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's going to be, I'm sure there's a study out there somewhere that's going to say, Silicon Valley created a template of, fun or freedom or whatever it is, and because they got ping pong tables there and they cater food and they have fun. I'm like, yeah, I have a ping pong table. We cater food. We also shoot bows. We also lift heavy shit. I take people snow machining and fuck. That's because I want to do that. It's not because I'm a computer and I'm trying to build an algorithm based on a guy that wrote a book from Harvard, right? It's like, no, that's just what I want to do.
No, they're fucking nerds and they're looking at it the wrong way.
Well, and how many places of business you go into and you have a, like, professional podcast studio in the fucking building like you guys have? That's fucking cool. Like, you see, like Kevin kind of said, business of the future. I mean, you're doing things, once again, from the outside looking in with that company that other people aren't doing, and I think that's a big testament to why you guys are so successful, because you're thinking outside that box and you're keeping your employees happy, and it's just a really awesome thing to see from.
And I would just say it's breaking the mold. Why do we have to have everything a certain way? Why does it have to be you go to work and you're serious and you hate your life and you live in this little cubicle? Like, why do we structure shit that way? We don't have to. We live in fucking America. Like, we don't have to go hate our lives and then beat our wives when we go home and rape people and fucking drink ourselves to death. I just think we're like institutionalized in a certain sense, and so we forget you can do whatever the fuck you want as long as you can afford it and it's gonna make you happy. Like, fucking do it, and yeah, it's a crazy concept that people don't think about. Like, do it, it's weird.
Yeah.
And I've always concentrated on that in the sense of I wanted people to live, especially guys, veterans that have transitioned out and tried to find, a good landing spot for a place that they wanted to work with a positive infrastructure of people like them, right? So, we always hear the same things. You guys have a dark sense of humor, you're, crass and blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to build something where people could transition and safely and psychologically they could transition and be like, hey, I know if I make an off-color joke within reason, like, nobody's really going to give a shit.
Right.
And I've always wanted to take people, because my perfect life scenario is I get to go home with my kids, and my kids and my wife, they're super fucking rad, and they love me, and they're pumped up, and they're fired. They give me energy because it's a really positive ecosystem. So I get to leave my home, and regardless if I had a big company or not, it was still a positive ecosystem with good people that love me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to go to work in a place where people are fired up and positive, and they love working with me. Well, the cool thing about that is you have a 360-degree life flywheel of success, right? So you're moving from a home where people love you and are positive and encouraging to a place of work where people love working with you and they're positive and encouraging. Like, you literally have no boundaries, right? You have all the cards to play an incredible life hand right there, and your life in positivity perspective, it gets faster and faster and faster, meaning it starts generating inertia in the right direction all the time, because you're never leaving positive, loving, encouraging environments with great people. You're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and your life starts moving in the right direction for all the right ways.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas before, you know, I would go out and spend like a month in the mountains or whatever in between, you know, rotations to Iraq or Afghanistan. I'd be like, I'd feel so fucking good. I was like just centered psychologically. I felt fucking incredibly empowered. And then I'd go back to Iraq and live in a shipping container and do my job. And it'd just kind of go just back and forth from like really negative circumstance to hyper, you know, isolated but fun circumstance. And I couldn't kind of get my life moving in the right direction, right? Just couldn't flywheel it and get it moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys, they get bogged down with, a lot of people, I should say, you know, male or female, right? They just get bogged down with not changing their circumstance and changing their reality or their environment. And they're going from a job that they hate, and they're going home and they're creating hate and negativity in their home. And then they're creating hate and negativity at their home, and that gets worse. So you're reversing the flywheel. Your professional environment and your family life are going in the wrong direction, and your life just keeps going in the wrong direction, to your point.
Yeah. Well, that's actually, we've talked about that exact scenario on here a couple times where people, and I'm sure you know people like this, we both know people like this, who nothing goes right for them ever. And and once you kind of take a step back and look at that person, you realize they're doing the shit to themselves. They're putting themselves in these bad situations. They're always broke. They always have a shitty job. They're not happy at home. It's like, then fucking change something. Change one thing for the better, and maybe other things will follow. It's, you know, momentum.
Yeah, I would guess, I'm speculating that you've, as many veterans as I've met since I've gotten out, I realized it was a disillusion. I thought they'd all be like me, and I realized that was not it. It was maybe 30 to 50%, and the other half I couldn't get through to. So I'm speculating you've had guys work like that, work with you that were like that, like just toxic, always negative, couldn't let go of that mentality, and maybe just couldn't be around, you know, you were the company, I guess, maybe.
It's sad, man. I've had close friends of mine that can't get out of the death spiral of negativity. They can't get out of their own way. And, you know, at the end of the day, you also have to perform triage in your life, which is you can't save everybody, right? You can't save everybody, and you have to be in a good spot individually. You know, it's self-aid, buddy aid, right? You have to be in a good spot to help other people. So, you know, I've had really close friends that just can't get out of their fucking way. And more importantly, I've had to explain to people and give them the hard luck news, which is like, I can't be friends with you anymore. Well, why? Because you're an asshole and you're never going to change. And I can't surround myself with fucking people that are assholes and they're never going to change. You know, I can try for a short amount of time, and then people have to help themselves, because I have an agenda, right? I have a very specific agenda for my life, and you're either going to fit in that or you're not. But if you're not, I'm not going to waste my time trying to fucking pull you into my orbit, because it's wasted energy. You're either in the orbit or you're not. Now, I mean, there's always the special circumstances, but I got a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old. I've got, obviously Black Rifle Coffee. I've got a ton of stuff that we do here internally. I got 55%. Just some rough numbers. We have 460 people at work here. 55% of them are veterans. I got a lot of really fucking cool people that work here. I just don't have time to waste on people that will not fucking help themselves.
Yeah.
Now there are special circumstances, but to your point earlier as well, like I know guys that are bilateral amputees and they have a positive psychology.
Mm-hmm.
They're fucking getting up and kicking ass every day, and they inspire me. So if you're not missing, fingers and toes, and you're still going to be a dick,
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see how that treats you. Let's see where your life is going to be in 10 or 15 or 20 years. I was having that conversation this morning with guys about they were asking me when was the last time you talked to this guy. I was like, dude, I haven't talked to that guy for years. And they're like, really? They couldn't believe it. It's like, you haven't talked to that guy for years, because every time he came around, he was negative.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that they needed something. It was just like he was an asshole. It's like, I don't have time for, to try to be the wind beneath somebody's fucking wings every time they come around my place. Like I got a ton of people that I can plug in, be a positive impact in their lives, create the flywheel effect that moves faster and faster in the right direction. And they can make the choice to be part of that, or I can just help them opt out of the entire thing.
Well, and you're talking about the pulling them into your orbit, and most of the time, if you're around that fucking person too much who doesn't want to come in, they're gonna pull you out, and they're gonna put you into that bad spot, and that's something we've talked about a bunch on here. Is like, I even have family members I don't talk to because I don't need their shit in my life, and that I've tried to help them. You could try to help somebody so much, but if you keep trying, they're going to pull you their direction, and you don't want to go that way. So
they want you to hate yourself as much as they hate themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'd have guys reach out to me and they're like, "Oh man, I love what you're doing. I've been following you." Like friends of mine, right? Guys that I've known forever. They like text me like, "Man, I love what you're doing. It's freaking awesome, man. Like, so cool to see everything you've done. Like, hey, I'm looking to maybe like do this or do that. Could you help me out?" And the first thing I do is I look up their names to see if they've ordered coffee. Guess what? Like 9 out of 10 haven't ordered it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, now I got nothing for you.
Yeah.
Because, 2 years, the first 2 years of this business, I was sleeping in a fucking thermarest underneath my desk. There's also this perception, like, I've heard it all, right? That I had investors, that I was rich, that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, man, my dad was a logger. I was raised by a single parent in northern Idaho and Lewiston, just maybe above or below the poverty line. And, I didn't have a fucking investor. I don't know. I don't even know where the fuck that hysterical shit came from. But I spent fucking the first 2 years of this just selling everything that I owned, sleeping underneath my desk, like literally sleeping 4 hours a night. I felt like I was in Ranger School for 2 years.
Jesus.
And that's brutal. Like, it's fucking brutal. So now if I have a bit of success, and then you've got people that kind of like come back and they're like, "Oh my God, I've seen you kind of successful, man. I saw this, article in, Business Week or whatever," and you're like, "Yeah, I got nothing for you."
Mm-hmm. They haven't even tried.
You spend $13 for coffee.
Yeah.
When I was sleeping 3.5 hours a night, you sure as shit aren't gonna get a fucking handout from me.
Well, hell, I mean, we don't even know you, and we drove all the way to Salt Lake to buy coffee one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do know my friends. Like you do know your friends, especially like after my PR little fiasco last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew who my friends were real fast.
Yeah. That whole thing from the outside watching was just fucking crazy. Like, people like to be pissed off about something, especially nowadays with the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can fucking control who wears a Black Rifle shirt or a Black Rifle hat. Like, That is so crazy to me that people were first of all mad that you're involved with these people who are wearing your stuff. You can't fucking control that. And then hearing you talk about it on podcast, that the other side, when you came out and like said, I don't fucking agree with violence, pretty much. The other side comes at you. That is insane to me. But...
And it's not like you're fucking Red Bull. Like, oh, anyone who's wearing my shit sponsored by me. Like, this is like anyone could go fucking buy it.
You have Black Rifle
Anybody
shirts.
can go buy it. And it's like, yeah, that's a whole other thing where, you know, I think to your point, like people think I'm in a throne, like wearing a bearskin fucking rug with like a scepter or something.
It's gonna happen though.
Yeah, I hope so. Like it's good to have goals. It's what I hope.
Yeah, like like a gold-plated shotgun or something. Just something just obtuse.
It's like so fucking weird, you know, like a gold-plated AK or something.
Yeah,
you know, it's just my life. You know, it's me and Post Malone.
Dude.
That's your. I saw that picture you posted the other day on Instagram of you with like the Muppet or whatever the fuck that was.
Yeah, the CEO puppet. Yeah,
so the next one is a portrait of you with your bearskin coat, shotgun. You make it happen,
dude.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
You said so earlier. You said you had a 3 and a 7-year-old. I also have a 3-year-old boy and a 7-year-old daughter. How did you guys? My daughter has been kind of rough, and she goes to a charter school. How did you navigate the whole shutdown with your 7-year-old going to school?
Oh man, you know that it was difficult. Only it was way more difficult for my wife, and because my wife is really concerned about the girls falling behind. I'm like, they're really fucking smart, and we're really good parents. You know, these kids have everything going in their lives. It's, you know, I love my kids. I spend a lot of time with my kids. Like, there's nothing I love more in my life than my kids. Like, okay, well, now you're actually a step above a huge percentage of people in the United States because they have fucking horrible parents, like deadbeat parents that are idiots, that are like, you know, that drink too much, that eat too much, that fucking, you know, they're just assholes or whatever, right? They've got like a wide variety of things that are going on and they have no fucking discipline. And so I was like, we love our kids. My wife is fortunate enough, she gets to stay home with the kids too. So she gets to stay home and do a lot of stuff with the kids. I'm like, this is their year where we can plug them in on some tutoring. We can, you know, I pulled my 7-year-old out of public school because it was a fucking nightmare. It was a nightmare. Like, you had teachers talking about how they were going to kill, you know, grandpa if they got close to him, and doing all this like just like hysterically ridiculous stuff. And I think you have a lot of educators out there that are really good people, and they're good. They're well-intentioned good people, 100%. But you also have to realize that there are a lot of dumb educators out there too, that are going to spread hysteria. And the last thing that I wanted was to ingrain hysteria into a 7-year-old. And we pulled him out. We got together with some other people in our neighborhood. We created a micro school. So we only had like 10 kids going to this micro school, and we hired a teacher. And it turned out where, you know, it was actually really inexpensive. There's only 10 kids in her class, and they had a great year. And then, you know, they were up on the mountains skiing like 2 days a week. So they got to be just like shred heads up in the snow. And if they're behind a little bit, as far as like, they're not, because, you know, I work with my daughters through a wide variety of ways, like rote memorization and math and spelling. And we emphasize a lot of education within the household, but I always felt that she would be more behind if she was just continued to be exposed to the hysteria of, you know, COVID and, oh my gosh, like we got to wear masks, and the psychological effects, the long-term psychological effects of all of that.
Absolutely.
For me, it was just, I couldn't really do it. Like, let's just figure something else out. My wife is a little bit more difficult because she was like, concerned. I'm like, they're gonna be fine.
Yeah. Well, they'll look back on this time and realize you guys were there. And
what's that?
I said they'll probably look back on this time when they're older and realize, like, my parents were there. They adapted so I could succeed in life. And I think that's an important thing for kids to see. Their parents fucking care.
I think it's 50-50. I think, I think kids maybe when they're 20-something, right, they may turn around and be like, man, that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they might just, like, take it for granted, and that's just life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really appreciate my dad until I was probably 24, 25.
Yeah, same. Well, I know, like, when all this COVID stuff first kicked off, and nobody knew what the fuck was going to happen. We went and bought every outdoor yard game you could buy so the kids could be outside. My kids didn't play outside so much in their life until this last year. And my older son, he has a real hard time with change. Like, he likes a schedule, and if he goes off that schedule, it fucks with him. So we said, we're going to keep you online school, and we'll help you at home. My wife, same. She stays home, and she's done fucking amazing. I mean, she's learning all this 7th grade schooling along with him, trying to help him with all his homework and all that. And then my little guy, he's 5 years old. He's in kindergarten, and they've been full time. He's gone to school full time all year. And we're pretty lucky. This elementary school is right here in our neighborhood. It's like
nice
5-minute walk. So, and it's been, the way his school has handled it has been amazing. They've done a really good job. The kids are all in school. Everybody's happy. My older son online, and man, they've been playing outside. And also we kind of took the opportunity to, when this kicked off, to kind of teach him some work ethic, And so we wrote a chores list and said, okay, this is what you got to do every day. And that changes depending on how much schoolwork he has. Don't want to overwhelm him too much we want him to do well in school. But my older son, man, he's learned how to work over this last year, especially last year when school first shut down, because they weren't going, they didn't know what was happening. And so he got a list of things to do, and he learned how to do some work. And so I don't know, you have to look at the side of things in fucked up times. That's just find the good in it. But
yeah.
Well, shit, man. I guess we can let you get out of here since I don't even know how long we've been talking, but.
Only an hour and a half. I'm not in a huge hurry, but it's been good, fellas. Like, I'll post a swipe up and we'll see how it goes as far as like the show. When do you guys want to post it?
This will be out Monday morning. So we'll get it all edited this weekend, and it'll be by about 4 a.m. is when they come out. 4 a.m. Monday morning, every Monday.
Just tag me in. I'll get the swipe up and we'll fire it up. Next time you're in Salt Lake, just let me know, because it's not that far away. We're only 5 hours down the road. Are you guys both in Boise proper, or are you like Napa?
We're Meridian. We're in Meridian, like South Meridian.
You're Meridian. Okay.
Yeah. But man. I mean, one of these days I'd like to maybe do this in person, because you lose a little connection, with the Zoom thing.
Yeah.
But
come on down. Like, we'll sit down on my desk. We'll do a free range. We'll just talk shit for an hour. And
that'd be fucking awesome. And I'll send you, like, I'll just DM you the link, or I can email it, whatever works for you.
Doesn't matter. And
now I guess we better go order some Black Rifle.
Yeah, I'm out.
So later on, when I ask you for help, you're gonna go check my name. Be like, all right, he ordered some fucking coffee.
Yeah. I don't worry about that. It's the guys that are always like, yeah, man, I'm fucking so stoked to see all your success. I've been like cheering you on forever.
Yeah.
And you're like,
doing shit.
And I can pull up the orders and on my phone, literally just search their fucking name in 5 seconds.
Yeah. It's I have a coffee problem. I drink way too much coffee, but I'm glad there's guys like you that make good fucking coffee for me to drink. So
well, you and I both. I started this company out of necessity, because I was quite literally drinking so much coffee that I thought it was going to be a good idea for me to roast it so I could save money.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a stupid idea. I mean, that's just a fucking dumb idea. You can't save money by buying a roaster. It's not possible, because then you start buying like, green beans and fucking espresso machines. And when you start to peel the onion on this, like, it just starts to make you cry. But it's so funny because I was like, yeah, I'm going to save money. I'm going to buy a roaster, spend $2,000 on a roaster when, I don't even have $2,000. But
yeah, I bought my first espresso machine this year because I'm.
Oh, you did?
I like a iced Americano. That's what I drink every time. That's my favorite. But I bought just a small, like, Breville,
Yeah.
And fuck, man, it made a difference. And we have a few good coffee shops around here that make some good beans. But
I'm the kind of guy, and Jake knows this, I don't half-ass anything. I whole-ass everything. But I still have like a $25 fucking coffee maker because I'm poor, dude. So I eventually one day I'll get around to making real coffee.
They're a good investment.
Like, man. I feel like it's a waste because I spend I go to Cabela's and spend X amount of dollars on back raffle coffee, and I just stuff it in my fucking shitty goddamn coffee maker. Like, I just ruin it. Ruin the taste.
And just do a French press, man.
But the French press is not very good for you.
I
studies increases oxidative stress in your brain.
Does it really?
Oxidative stress, yeah, which is a precursor to Alzheimer's, stroke, dementia.
But if the coffee tastes good,
the chunks, because the chunks of coffee in it. Or
they
what?
said there was a whole article on it. Oh, I'll have to fucking find it again. But
you have to send it to me.
Yeah. It was just like 2 or 3 months ago I read this because I would French press a lot. I was like, oh, fuck. They measured everyone who had, 1 to 3 servings a day of French press. Oxidative stress was like 30 or 40% higher in their brains, which is essentially free electrons, too many free electrons, right? And so I was like, fuck. So I stopped doing it. But yeah, I'll find that article for sure.
Yeah.
You got to get a Chemex. Like, I got to send you a Chemex because that's the best way to make coffee. Send me your address. DM me your address. I'll send you a Chemex.
That'd be cool.
You don't want that fucking French press, and you definitely don't want your Mr. Coffee, whatever the fuck you're drinking.
That's what it is, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna send you a Chemex.
Oh, dude, like
when drinking it out of that.
When I got that espresso machine,
man.
The espresso machine made the biggest fucking difference in the way it tastes, and I mean everything. I now I have a hard time drinking coffee that's not out of that machine.
Yeah,
it's especially like I'll. Unless I go to the coffee shop I buy my beans from because they're using the same thing. But like out of a fucking Mr. Coffee or whatever, it's hard. It's really.
Where do you go locally? Do you go to like Dawson Taylor or one of those?
So like, I used to really like Dawson Taylor, and there was a shop that served all Dawson Taylor. Well, this new one popped up over the past couple of years. It's called Cafeína.
And I haven't been there yet. And where's it at?
So their main place is down on State Street over there in Boise, and then they have one up off Overland. That's one I go to. It's a little closer to me.
Yeah.
And there's a little coffee shop called the Coffee Studio. That's who used to serve Dawson Taylor. Now they serve Cafeína's coffee, and it's good stuff, man. I go buy beans from them. I buy 2 bags of espresso beans every other week or so because I drink way too much coffee. Right. But yeah, it's a good. We have a couple good spots here, and then you get people that like to go to those like Dutch Bros and shit. It's like that's fucking water,
dude. Dutch Bros is like the Keystone Light of beer. Just can't fucking do it.
Yeah,
you can do it when you're like 15 or 16, but when you're a grown man, it's not for you.
You can't go there. No. I feel like I'm going to a bachelorette party every time I go there. What am I doing here?
Yeah, the way to do it is as soon as you take your order, Benito taught me this, is you just roll your fucking window up.
Oh, well, because if you don't, they jump in your fucking car.
They get so offended.
That place is interesting.
Yeah, just roll your fucking window up.
So when are you going to get a brick and mortar over here?
Soon. I've been looking for a place. I'm building one in Lewiston, right? Like I'm closing on the building in Lewiston.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Literally right now.
I have a feeling it would do well in Boise.
Oh, yeah.
Really well.
I think it would. I've been trying to find some spots. I've got one in Twin Falls that I really like. I've got one in Twin Falls that I really like. I got a spot in Pocatello that I like. I got a spot in Lewiston that I like. Meaning like we're all kind of we're either close to closing or closing. But I've been so concentrated on trying to get Texas, like their brick and mortar apparatus running. I think I have 4 or 5 right now opening up in Texas. I'll have 10 by the end of the year, and it's a lot of work. Yeah, and I love Idaho, which is truly unfortunate because I guess it was the single most moved to state in the union last year.
Yeah,
I believe that.
And from California and Seattle.
Like, in the neighborhood we live in, we both bought houses in the same subdivision. We're like the only people here that are from Idaho. Yeah, everybody's from out of state. Oh yeah, man. And I mean, I don't know how many houses are in here. There's
a lot.
Big fucking subdivision, and every time someone moves in, it's California plates, Washington plates, fucking Arizona plates. I mean, Colorado, all over the place except for from here.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy because they all want to move there because they want the freedom of the red state.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to bring their blue state bullshit there,
exactly.
Right? And it's like,
yeah, you know, I met a few of my neighbors, and they all seem like they were wanting to get away from a certain type of bullshit, and they want to keep it that way. And I like to think like everybody that lives in here is that way.
The coolest ones I meet from California are the retired cops. They're moving here because they're like, I'm fucking done with that bullshit, and I want to. And they're like-minded. You know what I mean? Like those are the coolest ones you meet in our neighborhood.
And,
you know?
I mean, I'm not saying like there's some liberal values that are good too. But if you're fucking running from it, don't try to turn it into what you just left, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. Like, I mean, I was really hoping that Idaho would be one of those places that that nobody would find out about, and I could just like keep it my secret, you know? Like, I'm gonna keep this my little secret up there.
Yeah.
And because I've always felt like, even though I left Idaho 20 years ago, I guess, or I guess not 20, but close to. I've always been back. My dad and my family and everybody. I still have, you know, property that's been in my family for like 100 years there. And it's always home. Like, Idaho's home. When people ask me where I'm from Idaho. It's my home, right?
Yeah.
I've always felt like I've been like displaced. I haven't been home. Even in Utah, I don't feel like I'm home. Idaho's home. I lived in Colorado and Virginia and a few of these other places, and it's like I'm from Idaho. I'm an Idahoan. I'm not from Utah. I'm a displaced Idahoan, right? And it's unfortunate because I think everybody's discovered it now, and I'll just have to buy a bigger, more remote piece of property out in the middle of like nowhere in Idaho and just get the fuck away. Because my wife and I were looking at places in McCall, and then COVID hit. So we weren't in a big hurry, right? We were just like, oh, something will come up, and we're not in a big hurry. It seems overpriced right now, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
dumb.
Dude,
we were. COVID hit, and it was just like the property values have like doubled.
Oh, it's insane. In this subdivision we live in, they were building another phase a little ways away, and my same exact house. We just bought this house last January, so just over a year ago.
Right.
And it's everything in here is brand new. The same house, same floor plan they're building in the next phase was like $100,000 more a year later.
Right.
That's just fucking insane.
The prime real estate, here's where I'm gonna look as soon as I'm not like a fucking poor student, is Council. Because my buddy's from Council, and all their family's up there, and he's like, dude, this is where we gotta go. We get 20 acres, and then you and I subdivide it, that way your neighbors, you know who they are. But Council, you're 20 minutes from McCall. Land's cheaper, and it's fucking nice. Yeah, and you go hunting right over there. Yeah.
We've been looking at property, too. My brother-in-law, he moved down to Austin for work, and he's talking about moving back, and he wants to kind of live away from Boise. And so we've been looking at property. Like, man, if you get a nice little property, we can come up there whenever we want, and we'll help you get it. So we looked at Council, too.
I was even thinking, like, Idaho City, like, up around there.
Yeah, dude.
Well,
nice up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. We were actually looking in eastern Idaho, which I've never really spent any time in eastern Idaho, but there's some beautiful country over there.
Yeah. And what's cool, I guess, too, about, doing the Idaho City route is whenever you want to go to McCall, you just take the logging route that goes from the top of McCall all the way through. At that T intersection that goes to the Horseshoe Bend, or you go right. Take that way, you go through
what is it, Banks? You can come out of Banks.
Yeah, you come out of Banks, essentially.
So like Garden City and then Banks, and then come out through there.
Yeah,
like
I almost bought a place in Atlanta. Do you guys know where that's at?
Oh yeah, I grew up hunting up in Atlanta.
Yeah, like that was last year. It was like dirt. It was dirt cheap. It's like like, 1,000 square feet. It was less than like $100,000. And I was like, this would be sick. I'll have a place in Atlanta. And I was like, it's a little bit too much. I don't want to do it right now. It's Atlanta. Nobody's going to buy property. You can't even find property in Atlanta now. Dude, like, there's no property available, but it's right there next to the Sawtooth.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can like get up into the mountains in no time out of there. Like,
that's beautiful country up there.
And fucking around.
That's where I grew up. We'd go up towards Atlanta hunting every year, and I love it up there. I could live up there.
Yeah,
I love Atlanta. Like that place is fucking epic.
Hell yeah, we'd go
anywhere I can go where there's like 2 dirt roads and there's a river running through the town.
Yep.
Well, like we just go over to the the old airport up in Atlanta and go shooting all day on the old airport strip.
Yeah.
And, seriously?
Oh yeah. We did that all the time. And because I mean a lot of people, especially people that live up there, they all shoot up there because long distance and you got a good background. And
seriously,
it's a cool spot. But
but dude, if you ever do a brick and mortar store in Boise, I will put my physics degree to good use and be a barista.
There you go,
dude. Take my shirt off and everything.
Hell yeah.
If you need,
that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Pulling shots with your physics degree. I mean, I'm sure it's an incredible waste or it's an incredible asset for us to just make sure that we're really optimizing all of the weight to coffee ratios.
Exactly. I mean? And honestly, to be honest, like I'm obsessed with astrophysics, but as a hobby, I don't want to really ruin it by working in the field. Like I don't want to be an aeronautical engineer. That's kind of cool, but really I don't know. It's not really, I'm honestly doing it because I have a GI Bill and I want my kids to see that, oh, dad did something in case I never do anything else with my life. If I just fucking die tomorrow, at least you got a degree, so they'll aspire to that,
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean I need to go in that field. So if I need to be a barista to fucking and spread my butt apart for people, dude, dude, whatever.
I don't know what kind of coffee shop you're talking about. But,
he's just adding a little spice to the Black Rifle.
Yeah, I was a barista under the name of Mike Honcho.
Shit.
I don't know how well that concept's gonna go, man. It might be
a lawsuit.
That would be sick as shit, though. If you did one of those bikini baristas, but you're in a bikini,
dude,
just wear
you're in the bikini when they show up. So like some dudes are showing up, like, hey, what's up, man? Like turning around, like that.
Or just like Ranger panties, and that's it. Maybe some shoes.
There's the next Black Rifle PR nightmare right there,
dude. Man.
Now that's called a good video. That's not a PR night.
It is.
That's called just a good time,
dude. Like in some Black Rifle Ranger panties and just like rolling up and like got like some like those Oakleys on and just some shoes. Just that's it. That's it.
Just with a bikini top.
Yes. In
a really shitty wig. Like just be like, hey, what's up? What do you want? What can I get you?
Yeah.
Like you have some guys straight off the construction site thinking they're going to the bikini barista shop and like you turn around, hey, what can I get you?
They're from the back, they're like, man, she's got some really broad shoulders.
She got some thick ass legs, dude. She's thick.
Dude, that chick does CrossFit.
Yeah, she does CrossFit, dude. Yeah.
Ready.
I do honestly look like a really hot like CrossFit girl anyway from behind, so.
You got the big ass,
got the big thighs, big old legs, just like ugh.
I could see that. I could see how you're like, you could work it. Yeah, I could see that.
It's not gay. I'm not like kissing anybody,
That's fine, even if you are.
And there's nothing wrong with that either, honestly.
No,
it's just I mean, yeah.
You do you, man.
Yeah.
It's you do you. Live your best life.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
All right, dude. We appreciate you coming on, man. And I'll
hey, DM me with your addresses too. I'll send you some coffee shit so you're not making it
badass
coffee.
Cool, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, man. We'll talk to you.
All right, see you guys.
All right, later.